Hello everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel Psychology Class for All. Today I will discuss average deviation in psychology, a simple measure of spread. Have you ever wondered, do all your students score close to the average, or do some score too high or too low? To answer that, psychologists use something called average deviation, a very intuitive way to measure how far scores drift from the center. And the best part, it is simple and super relevant. We'll see the definition given by Garrett and Woodwards in his book Statistics in Psychology and Education. The average deviation or mean deviation is the average of the absolute deviation of a set of scores from their mean or median. It gives a measure of dispersion that is not influenced by the direction of deviation. So, average deviation, also known as mean deviation, tells us how much the score in a data set differ from the average, regardless of whether they are above or below it. It uses absolute differences, so we don't need to worry about negative signs. Here is the formula for average deviation calculation from ungrouped data. Average deviation is equal to summation bar x small x, that is deviated x bar, divided by its n. This bar sign is also called as modulus. So here AD stands for average deviation. Symbol of sum or summation stands for the sum of. Small x stands for deviation of each score from its mean. This bar, also called as modulus, stands for the indication that while summing up of deviation scores, negative or positive signs will not be kept in mind. And n stands for the total number of scores. Now calculating AD from group data with an example. I have taken example of IQ scores. Scores are like 100, 105, 110, 115 and 120. So first step is calculation of mean. Here mean calculation is summing up of the scores divided by the total number of scores, that is 5. Now find the absolute deviation. So here mean is 110, summing up of all the numbers scores divided by 5, and then find the absolute deviations. Deviation is calculated by mean minus the score, related score, and the sum total of that deviation is called as is put in the next column, that is bar x or modulus x, small x. So the total of that column is 30. Now the next step is adding them up and dividing. Now putting the formula like AD summation modulus x divided by n. Here AD is 30. uh, Deviated x, total of deviated x is 30 divided by 5, and the answer is 6. So the average deviation is 6. This means on average score deviates 6 points from its mean IQ. Now we'll see an example. Now we'll see an example of average deviation calculation from the group data. There is a group data having two columns, one is class interval, another one is frequency. Now here the formula is written as AD summation of fx, that is multiplication of frequency with its midpoint total and divided by n. Here AD stands for average deviation, summation stands for the sum of, f stands for the frequency, small x stands for deviation of each score from its mean. This modulus stands for the indication that while summing up of deviation scores, negative or positive sign will not be kept in mind, and n is the number of scores. Now see let's see how this works with group data like stress scores. So first we'll calculate the mean by using group data formula for mean calculation, and the table will be adding up more columns other than stress range and frequency. So first of all we'll be calculating mean from group data with using the formula summation fx divided by n. So here it will be like 190 divided by 19, and then we'll compute the absolute deviation from 19 in the fourth column, that is x divided capital X minus m, then multiply each deviation by its frequency that is there in the last column, and the total or sum of that column is 80. So now using the group data formula. Now using the group data formula for average deviation, it goes like 8. That means there is the average deviation is 8. This means on average scores deviates 8 points from the mean stress score. Now why AD matters in average deviation matters in psychology, because it tells us about consistency, variability and individual differences, which is central to psychology. It is often used in psychological test reliability, individual differences in cognitive scores, measuring consistency in therapy outcomes, emotional stability studies, academic performance in applied psychology, studying emotional variability, and comparing learning performance. There is a picture that shows two bar charts with same mean but one spread out more. There is an example of two cases or two classes might have the same average motivation score, but one may have a higher AD, average deviation, meaning less consistent motivation levels and more variability among students. Now about strength of average deviation. It is easy to understand and calculate. It focuses on average distance from the center, works well in a small simple psychological studies. So now AD is great but not perfect. There are some limitations too. It doesn't use squared values, so it's less sensitive to extremes. It's not used in advanced statistical tests like the t-test or ANOVA. Now comparison of AD to standard deviation that we will be discussing in the next class. AD is simpler and intuitive, and standard deviation is more precise and commonly used in inferential statistics. So the average deviation helps us understand how people differ from the mean, making it perfect for psychology where human behavior is never identical. It's not about just the average, it's about how far we stray from it. Now try calculating average deviation with your own class test scores. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe for more bite-sized, meaningful lessons in psychological statistics. Thank you.